Magic 95.5.
Perfect intro. Oh, Magic 95.5. Sean Anthony, got a special guest in the studio with me, producer Kosine.
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. Pleasure to be here.
So tell me, where you from? You from Chicago, right?
Yeah, I'm originally from Chicago. Okay. Yeah, West Side, Maywood, Broadview.
Yeah, now you got some pretty significant records that you produced for Big Sean.
Yes, sir.
Nicki Minaj. I mean, we could just stop right there and say, damn, that's enough. But you got some other people that you
I'm like,
for.
it's over 250 placements, bro.
Okay.
You gonna leave out Rihanna and Nas and Ludacris and Justin Bieber and Jasmine Sullivan and Ari Lennox.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And G Herbo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So how'd you get started as a producer, man?
Well, I was running away from the artist side. I was into the artist. Well, I've been playing instruments my whole life. My mom's had me on piano as a kid and saxophone 5th grade, drums. I was a 3rd string drummer in church.
Okay. Third string,
you know what I'm saying? That's when they bring you up for the kids choir, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But, you know, I had a decent pocket, you know, and then I went to Florida A&M, went to HBCU.
Okay.
Marched in the Marching 100 playing saxophone.
How was that transition coming from Chicago, then going to Florida?
Pure culture shock.
Yeah.
Culture shock.
What was the biggest surprise for you?
I mean, the biggest off top was just the accents. You know what I'm saying? Like going in the office, like, hi, I was looking for Miss Jackson. Like, oh, Miss Jackson. No, Miss Jackson. Oh, you want to see Miss Jackson? Oh, Miss Jackson, she in the bike.
Right
I'm
down the street.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, the bike. You know, so that was it. But then also, you know, moms was in there listening to Kenny G, right? Okay. So I got down there, I'm playing saxophone, and they like, man, why you play so white? Who did you study? And I'm like, Kenny G. And they like, oh, you don't know about John Coltrane? You don't know about Cannonball Adderley? You don't know about Charlie Parker? And like, that's where I got the sauce from. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
As far as being a musician and not just a surface musician, but being a musician. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's dope, man. So from college, then when did you really take it seriously to start creating and producing?
Well, after my sophomore year at FAMU, my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Man, sorry.
And so I lost mom after my sophomore year, and that's when I turned into Denzel Washington, Man on Fire. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my queen. She was the greatest mom ever, you know, gave me so much. And her first and last wish was that I graduate from college.
Okay.
So I went back home. I registered at Columbia College, Chicago, and graduated 3 years later with a 4.0 on Mother's Day.
How about that?
You know what I mean?
That's dope, man.
And gave a speech dedicating my degree to her. And then the school hired me. So I was a 23-year-old college professor teaching a class that I made up called hip hop beat making. And then I taught another class inside of the curriculum, producing recorded music 3.
Okay.
And I did that for a couple years and met a brother on a panel who was partners with Mims. And Mims was coming off this big song, This Is Why I'm Hot. And he's like, you know what? They trying to put him with all the biggest producers in the world. And he don't need to be working with the biggest producers in the world. He just needs to work with somebody that has a different sound. And Kosine, you got a different sound. You know, so they flew me to Atlanta. I ended up executive producing his whole second album.
Wow. Which
led to my publishing deal with Sony ATV, and which led to me moving to Los Angeles. Rest is history. I ain't leave the charts for about 6 years.
So that was your first artist producing?
That's my first gold record is Mims Move If You Wanna, 2009.
And that's when you first got in the game.
Man, it was my first couple beats in Logic Pro. I didn't even know what I was doing.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what DAW were you using and what were you teaching at the school? What DAW?
So I was teaching out of Reason, you know, and before Reason, I started off on a keyboard and an MPC.
Okay.
You know, learning from the sick one, learning from the great No ID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, Chicago, we about chopping them samples, you know, so being able to know how to chop the samples, but also add the musicality to it.
You worked under No ID, or you was just...
He was a mentor, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Chicago. And
that's a great mentor right there,
oh, man. He came to my mama basement, my homie Sick One, and also Jay Boog. They brought No ID to my mama crib, you know what I'm saying, in Broadview, Illinois, you know, and so just even having those moments, right, you know, when because I'm a first generation American. Mi madre es de Panamá y mi padre es de Guatemala. So todo me llamo es Marcos Enrique Palacios.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what you said, but I understand the dialect.
As an Afro Latino, you know what I mean? I didn't have no connects.
Your mom and dad is from Guatemala?
My mom is from Panama. And my dad is from Guatemala.
How about that?
You know what I mean? Pops actually was in the 1968 Olympics for Guatemala, high jump.
Wow. What's his name?
Teodoro Palacios Flores.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you come from this lineage of excellence.
Man.
So let's go back to you go to Atlanta, you executive produce Mims project. You got your publishing deal.
Right.
How knowledgeable were you about the industry, the game, the business side of it? To be able to, were you sharp with it?
Wasn't that knowledgeable at all. You know, just had super dope mentors, Troy Carter and Vincent Herbert. You know, they saw something in us. I was in a production duo called The Interns, and my partner was his name is Tu Clark. He's in Arizona, but he was more like, you know, the business and the cool, you know, and the mouthpiece of the crew. And I'm the musician of the crew, you know. So he was the one that, you know, found Vincent Herbert and, you know, got us our meeting and everything like that. And man, rest is history.
So with the publishing deal, how did that work with you executive producing Mims project? Who'd you get the publishing deal with?
Jody Gerson at Sony ATV. And, you know, the ATV is Michael Jackson. So Sony ATV, Mike, you know, and it was interesting because they were the ones that really, you know, there was an A&R there named Katie Welly, who, you know, man, they kept saying our name everywhere and like putting us in rooms with people. And that's really a lot of times where people, you know, they don't have anyone to put them in the room with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Because some producers, their thing is just sending beats. Hey, I'll send you a pack of beats, man. Rap to it, whatever.
Right.
That's not how I get down. I'm a Johnny on the spot. You know what I'm saying? I can send beats. It's cool.
Right.
But
what is your method though when in the studio? Like,
well, if it's a rap artist, I love to make rap artists their job as easy as possible. So I'm going to do the beat and I'm going to do the hook and I'm going to give you the concept and I'm going to give you some flow patterns. So you can't mess this record up if you try to. It's going to be hard because I'm going to make your job. It's like if we playing basketball and you can jump, I'm your point guard. I'm going to put the ball right by the rim. So all you got to do is catch it.
Lay it up.
Man, lay it up, windmill it, dunk, however you get down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, you know, the greatest among you, you know, that good book say the greatest among you serve.
Yeah.
You know, so I just try to really get myself in a position to really serve and listen. Like now that I've, you know, got some wisdom with the production now, how I produce now is a lot different from before because I didn't really even know what I was doing back then.
That brings me to my next question because, you know, you look at some of the greats like a Babyface, and before they start, you know, playing anything, they're in the studio with the artist having a conversation. Seeing what's going on in your life, who you having a relationship with. Do you do this same process?
Man, let me tell you, sometimes I feel like a therapist. You know what I'm saying? In the studio, I feel like a therapist because those conversations are so necessary. And like sometimes before we get to the studio, it's just on the phone or it's a FaceTime. You know, but from the beginning, when I know I'm working with somebody, I try to get to know them as best as possible because I'm taking all of that into the songwriting process.
Now let's go back to my homie Sean, Big Sean.
Oh yeah.
Big Sean used to freestyle on my radio show in Detroit.
Okay.
Before he gets signed.
Yeah, this is a crazy full circle moment. That's
so
wild.
You produce several songs from Big Sean.
Oh yeah.
Big Ass, right?
Yeah, right.
So what's the studio process like with Big Sean? What's he like in the studio?
Know, it's interesting because that first time with Sean, right, I came in there doing my Johnny on the spot, making a track. Track was weak sauce, right? I do not necessarily have it in this moment right now, right? And I'm reading the room. The homie Eric Bellinger was there, you know, Tu there, Don Benjamin was there. And I'm just like, shit, you know, excuse me. I'm like, I don't have it. You know what I'm saying? And Sean was like, well, what if I got an idea in my head? You know what I'm saying? Could you make a track to something that I've been thinking of this concept. I'm like, yeah, I mean, really I didn't know, right? But my partner, this is why sometimes just having a partner is amazing. He's like, oh yeah, we do that all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. And so he just started letting them go. Ass. He just letting them go. Now make that mother hammer time. And I'm like, okay.
Those were the ideas that he was just coming out.
He said the hook. He just said the hook. I've never heard so many asses in a row in my life.
Right.
When that song came out, it set the Guinness Book of Records for most asses in the chorus. Wow. You know what I'm saying? But we've always been out the box guys. You know what I'm saying? We the underdogs. You know what I'm saying?
Now, was this your first session with Big Sean?
First session.
And that's
first session. Yeah. For the first time I met him in the studio, I played him some beats. And this is interesting because I had not partaked in cannabis at this time, right? So Sean was all zooted and he like, am I high or are these beats really good? In the spirit of Michael Jordan in Chicago, I took offense to that. Right, you know what I'm saying? Like when you watch that Netflix doc, I took offense to that, man. What the hell you mean? Are you high or these beats? I don't even know what that means, right? So then we got back in the studio and that's when we really went to work and that's, the rest is history, man. We probably maybe 4 times platinum. I haven't done the research on it, but then the remix with Nicki Minaj, what I'm grateful for is that my songs don't go away. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Some timeless songs.
Yeah, man. I'm grateful for that longevity.
Who that you work with in the studio has made the biggest impression on you personally?
That answer will probably change every day for the rest of my life. But today, I'm going to go with Usher.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Usher.
Why?
And you know what? I put John Legend in there too.
Okay.
And what it is the discipline and the standard of excellence. Because a lot of times people like to play in the studio. Mm-hmm. You're not playing in an Usher or a John Legend session. It's just not that. You're going to have fun. You can crack jokes and it'd be cool. But these dudes are so professional. They so on top of their craft that it's just not that. Mm-hmm. It's not we're not going to get quality done today type of environment, and I respect people that just kind of demand that level of excellence out of you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man, that you're able to share that about Usher, their discipline. Because we don't know, stories like that. It's so funny. I was just watching something on X, Twitter. It was Marsha Ambrosius talking about the song Butterflies, how she wrote it and how it wasn't intentionally for Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson actually found that song. And then she talks about the demo version, how she sung it, but how Michael really wanted it to be produced and how he was more on the beat as opposed to kind of guiding over the beat with the song. Mm-hmm. I'm sharing all that to ask you, give us a story of an artist, of a session that, who you least expect like to be produced. For example, another example, and then I'm going to shut up. I remember Jermaine Dupri talking about him being in the studio with Aretha Franklin and how he was behind the control booth. She was in the booth singing, and he just kept saying, this is cool, this is great. And he's like, what are you going to tell the queen of soul? You know what I'm saying? Till she came out the studio and said, now, are you going to produce me or what? Are you going to give me some direction or what? And I'm kind of paraphrasing. What examples can you share with us?
Well, my example is going to be Boys to Men, but put a bookmark right there because I had to plug my catalog. I also executive produced Marsha Ambrosius' album Lovers and Friends.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times in these interviews, I do the big names, Rihanna, Justin Bieber, but like I said, we over 250, you know what I'm saying? And for the listeners that are listening, you trying to figure out what you want to ride to today, go ahead and run back that Lovers and Friends. Now that you done heard Kosine pull up to Columbus and you know what it is,
right.
Let that talk to you a certain type of way.
Your resume is massive, man. we literally, listen, y'all, we literally just met probably 15 minutes ago. Shout out to
Mose, yeah.
Mose, he got his shop in Columbus, Ohio.
Dreams on High. Just
made the introduction. So he showed me your Wikipedia briefly.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning. But
yeah.
Massive resume.
Man, and I appreciate my brother too, because it's hard navigating, right? Like I walk in, and if I show you my Wikipedia, I'm a narcissist immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but
it's always good to have somebody edify you.
bro always hold me down. And
let's go back to let's go focus. So, Marsha.
So we lovers and friends. Mm-hmm. Also, she's featured all over my debut EP, Truth Serum, which is on Apple Music, all DSP, Spotify, Tidal. It's called Truth Serum, Kosine, Kosine. But she's singing backgrounds and executive produced my first project. Because it's like, yo, I executive produced your project, executive produced mine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I got that from going to a Tupac exhibit. Because when I was reading his letters from jail, he always had to ask. And that's one thing I want to leave with your listeners, that you have not because you ask not.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that want to help you, or if you did a favor for somebody, they would love to repay the favor back. But you might have too much ego or pride, or may not even know that it's okay to ask. You know what I'm saying? So that's my Marsha story. Moving on to Boys to Men, right? Because I produced this song on their 20th anniversary album called Benefit of a Fool, right? And first of all, these dudes are the coolest dudes ever. I was so taken back because it's Boys to Men, right? So I'm thinking,
Multiplatinum.
Let's not wait till the war. I'm thinking they finna come in here just pure Negro royalty. And they came in there, man, I don't know what I'm gonna eat, man. I'm gonna eat this salad, man. You gonna eat a salad? Yeah, it's gonna make a turd. It's gonna make it. I'm like, wait, what's going on in here?
This
you know
is not
what I'm
the
saying?
Boys and Men I envisioned, right?
Why y'all acting like my homies, man? Why y'all acting like boys in the locker room? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But man, I mean, just full legends, and they were going in there singing and asking me, yo, coach, what you think? How was that? And it's just like, this is the greatest display of harmony that I've ever heard, you know, for a while. When I got through working with them, I also did a song with them called Feel Me that ended up going to Eric Bellinger later, and I left Boys to Men on his backgrounds. But I used to just listen to the acapellas of the songs that I did with them to study their arrangement. And really, since I was a little bit starstruck, they kind of was producing each other.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So they'll sing a little note like, "Now hit that one more time," and that was Mashed Potatoes. And I'm like, what's mashed potatoes? You know what I'm saying? Raising my hand, and then what's mashed potatoes? They like, oh, that's when, you just kind of, you're not hitting the individual notes. You just running all over the place. So a lot of times when I was working with these legends early on in my career, I was just finally happy to be in the room and watch and be a fly on the wall as the producer, When
did you have that moment where it's like, okay, I've got some skin in the game. I've arrived. And my confidence is here. I know what I bring to the table, no matter what caliber of artist you are. When was that?
That was 2014.
Okay.
Because when I was working with Nicki, she was a little spicy in the studio.
Spicy how?
So our queens, man, our black women, because of how society is, sometimes they're just forced to be a little more aggressive than necessary. And in the studio, I seen a little bit of that and I wasn't understanding. So I just closed the laptop. I'm like, look, man, you got to tell me why you like this. And Nicki and I had a real conversation, and I don't think before, I would close my laptop and say, tell me why you like this to a superstar. Right. But I needed to know. I needed to figure out what's going on.
Was it the energy impeding on your creative process in the studio?
Yeah, because it's just like, she like, she was just spicy. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wait, what's going on?
Where's this coming from?
She told me, she was like, you know what, man? Coach, I had to learn how to stop telling everybody to suck my. And I said, and luckily, right, she had her homegirl that she used to work at Red Lobster with that was in the room with her. So I'm looking at the homegirl like, she lying? She like, nah, it's been like this since Red Lobster. You know what I'm saying? Like,
she had to tell people
well, yeah, because she was, as women, how it is. This industry, man, they're so cruel to women sometimes, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And so they gotta, just like how men do. But when they do it, they the B word. You know what I'm saying? And so once I understood, where she was coming from, I had to let her know through the conversation, like, you don't have to be like that. Well, here, I'm your brother. I got you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here to give you, hopefully one of the biggest songs of your career, which, ended up being with Anaconda. Anaconda.
Oh, my God.
My Anaconda don't. And it wasn't even called Anaconda. You know what I'm saying? It was just, she had a verse and a track idea from Polo to Don.
Okay.
And she said, I have this idea that I love, but I think about how my background dancers were acting when Big Sean Ass came out. And we were on tour. And I'm like, see, I need a song that make them act like that. And I'm like joking in my mind, like, oh, so you need your own ass.
Right,
Don't worry, Nicki, I'll give you your own ass. I'll give you an ass.
There's so many ways you can go with that. That's crazy. So you have this heart-to-heart with Nicki Minaj in the studio. Did you get the feeling after that conversation that she trusts you now?
Oh, she opened right up. Oh, yeah. We worked the whole week. She opened right up. It was, I don't want to go too far into the process because she is royalty. So I'm not going to, divulge everything.
Right.
But, I was able, and my partner, we were able to just kind of really collaborate, you know what I'm saying? And meet, at an eye-to-eye level, you know what I'm saying, a space.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the record is timeless and why I did so much and why I got over 1 billion views on one song in YouTube. I got a B.
That's crazy. So does the publishing go to you with even streams on YouTube as well?
Of course. Well, with production as a producer, you get paid so many different ways, right? Like you can get a producer advance. If it's an independent thing, right, you may retain ownership of the master. There's mechanical royalties. And then if you're a musician, you have the musicians union, right? That's a whole nother fee for whatever instruments that were played on that. So yeah, there's a few different ways.
Points on the album and points on the back end.
Points on the back end, yeah. Your producer royalties. So, you know what I'm saying?
So for an aspiring producer that's listening to this interview, how and when do you handle the business part of that? Do you have that discussion as soon as the artist walks in, or is this something that's set up before the studio session is scheduled? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's why music is so crazy, right? Because it's the wild, wild west. You know what I'm saying? Like it can go however way. In that way, did we talk about that before? Nicki and I never talked about business. You know what I mean? We did our things as creatives and let our lawyers handle that on the backside. You know what I'm saying? But again, in the indie space, you might want to discuss certain things up front, right? Because when the record's done and everybody's excited and they about to put it out, then somebody pulls a rabbit out their hat, it can get tricky, So the first thing that I would say before I even talk about any of this, I would say go get the book, Everything There Is to Know About the Music Business by Donald Passman, and educate yourself. Make that your music Bible first.
That's a classic book, by the way.
Yeah, and he keeps dropping new ideas. Like it's on his 20th edition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I got a lot of questions for you.
We got to come back and do like a music seminar. I got to catch a flight.
All right, let me wrap this up. You said you work with a partner, a team, a duo?
Yeah, early on, up from it went to 2015 was our last year.
Okay.
Before I went solo.
And what was your
the interns?
The interns.
Yep.
I know I've heard of y'all. So I have a good friend. He's a producer. And for years, him and his partner, he would always vent to me the issues that he has.
Oh yeah.
Or had. He recently parted ways. And I've been telling him, I'm like, look, man, you can't control folks. You can't make people be how you want them to be. You'll always get disappointed. So whenever you step off, I really believe that your blessings is going to come. You know what I'm saying? But he was fearful because his partner was more of the musician. He is more of the engineer,
right?
And can tweak and change, put the right snare on there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Change the frequencies and stuff like that. What advice? And I'm giving you a Cliff Note version of that. But what advice would you give someone like my friend or other producer duos that have challenges in their team?
Well, I'm always big on writing stuff down. You know what I'm saying? I tell that to my brother all the time, man. You got to write it down, because what we need to establish is what are our expectations. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's something you got to review and go back to it, because they may change as the years go. When our company first started, we were a marketing company. Write your life. Oh yeah, write your life. Absolutely. That's the mantra. Write your life. But when our company first started, marketing, management, and production, right? But over time, the marketing and the management went out the window, and now we're number one producers. You know what I'm saying? But that was supposed to just be my department. We supposed to have, something else. But the business took a different shape. So sometimes you got to revisit your expectations. You know what I'm saying? And understand, and also revisit the goals. What's the goal? Where are we going with this? There's so many times where you ask somebody, all right, hey, I love to help you. What are your goals? And there's not clarity in that. Right. And those things, they take self-work. That's not something somebody can do for you. You got to go to God. You got to go do some soul searching and figure out what are your goals. Once you can clearly identify what your goals are, now you can start building a plan towards that specific goal or goals, you know what I'm saying, plural. But this is all self-work that has to be done. There's a lot of times in life where we want to skip certain steps. That's like you're an athlete, but you don't like stretching. It's just a matter of time before you catch an injury and it's over with. It's a matter of time. Same thing with musicians and producers. You gotta get on your theory. You gotta get on your organizing your drum kits. There's like certain. I love to call it the boring stuff. The stuff that's not fun, that's boring. That's usually the stuff that's gonna help you to get to the money that you want to make. Gotcha. And if you're not ready to do that boring, monotonous work, then you're not serious.
Yeah. Last question, man. Obviously, I can talk to you about.
Oh yeah, I'm coming back. Don't even worry.
What's your favorite DAW to use now?
I only use Logic.
You only use Logic.
Every one of my hits, every sound has come from Logic.
Why? Why that DAW?
Well, my homie used it in college.
Okay.
And it wasn't even Logic at the time. I want to say, I don't even.
That's the Magic. That's the Apple-based one, right?
Yeah. So I mean, think about it's so interesting, right? Like
my homie swears by Studio One.
That's another good one.
But I haven't really used it. But I was like, man,
Studio One, Ableton. A lot of my guys use Ableton. A lot of my guys use FL Studio.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But Logic
Pro Tools. But for me personally, all of my hits, every song, hits, album cuts, commercials, favors for people, everything is Logic Pro. And it's interesting because I'm an on-air personality at Apple Music.
Oh, okay.
And Apple owns Logic. So when Logic just dropped a new updated version, Logic Pro 11.
You get it first?
Oh, not just do I get it first, but the lead developer sits me down and goes through all of the new things. So that's what I want. I want to come back to Columbus and just do something cool where I can just open up Logic and just give away secrets, man.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? And the audience can just fire away. I think you would be a wonderful moderator for something like this, and maybe the radio, sponsors, maybe, I'm throwing it out there. Or here we go. We'll find a way to do it. But I think that's really how we help. And then maybe at night we book a studio time, do some type of contest, pick an artist, and then they get a session with me.
That would be dope, man.
You know what I mean?
Kosine, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Yes, sir.
It was nice to meet you as well. Thank you for the connection.
Dreams on high, baby. Dreams on high. Go get you a shirt, man. Go spend some money with bro.
Listen, man, how long you going to be in Ohio?
I'm leaving here and going to the airport.
Oh, okay. You got to catch your flight.
I'm leaving here and going straight to
let's take a couple of pictures, man. Thank you so much, man. Sir. What's your latest project that you just produced? You want people to stream up?
Well, go grab that Meta project, Rock Nation. She did a collab album with Kate Trinata. I'm playing saxophone on number 2, so I'm excited about that. But then also stream Truth Serum, my debut EP, and watch the film on YouTube, Truth Serum, the EP film by Kosine, Kosine. I love you, Columbus.
I'm going to check that out. By the way, man, I just co-starred in a movie that just was released a few weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, man. It's called Tears for Tasha. So check that out,
Where do I watch that at?
It's streaming on Tubi.
Okay.
And the numbers are going up. It's doing pretty well.
Tears for Tasha.
Tears for Tasha.
All right, come on. I didn't know I was talking to an actor, you know what I'm saying?
I didn't know I was talking to a multi-platinum producer, you know what I'm saying? Kosine, thank you so much for stopping by, man.
All right.